Ambassador Do-hyun stared at the message on his screen. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood it correctly. After 5 years as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. He was wrong. "They want us to attend what?" asked Dr. Jisoo Han. She leaned over his shoulder to look at the screen, her dark eyes widening as she read. "The Deathworld Summit," Do-hyun replied. "Apparently it's the first of its kind." Jisoo straightened up and adjusted her lab coat. As the embassy's top scientist, she understood the implications immediately. "So they finally admit we belong at the table." Do-hyun wasn't so sure. The message was formal but cold. Earth had only joined the galactic community 8 years ago. Most alien species still viewed humans with a mix of fear and fascination. Some simply avoided them altogether. The office door slid open and Captain Taewon entered, his uniform perfectly pressed as always. "Ambassador, the alien ship has docked. The council messenger is ready to meet you." "Show him in," Do-hyun said, standing up. He smoothed down his formal jacket and took a deep breath. The alien who entered was tall and thin with pale blue skin. 4 eyes blinked independently as he surveyed the room. Do-hyun recognized the species, a Valorian from a lush garden world near the center of the galaxy. "Ambassador Do-hyun," the alien said with a slight bow. "I am Vesnar, Special Representative of the Galactic Council." "Welcome to Earth, Representative Vesnar," Do-hyun replied with a deeper bow. "May I introduce Dr. Jisoo Han, our Chief Scientist, and Captain Taewon, Head of Security." Vesnar barely glanced at the others. "I come with an official invitation." He removed a small crystal disc from his robe and placed it on Do-hyun's desk. The disc projected a formal document in the air, written in both Standard Galactic and Korean. "The Council extends an invitation to Earth to send representatives to the first Deathworld Summit," Vesnar said. His tone made it sound more like an obligation than an honor. "We are grateful for the invitation," Do-hyun said carefully, "though I admit we're surprised." Vesnar's upper eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of mild irritation. "The Council has decided that all species from classified Deathworlds should be represented. Earth qualifies barely." Captain Taewon stepped forward. "Barely? Earth is classified as a Class 12 Deathworld. That's the highest rating in the known galaxy." Vesnar waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. Yes. A classification error, many believe. No intelligent species should have evolved on such a hostile planet. It defies logic." Dr. Jisoo crossed her arms. "And yet here we are." "Indeed," Vesnar said. "A fascinating anomaly. That's partly why the Council agreed humans should attend, as a courtesy." Do-hyun noticed Jisoo's eyes narrow. He knew that look. The scientist was recording every subtle insult for later analysis. She had made understanding alien behaviors her specialty. "What exactly is the purpose of this summit?" Do-hyun asked. "To discuss mutual concerns among species who evolved in hostile environments," Vesnar explained. "Resource allocation, colonization rights, biological containment protocols, the usual matters." "Biological containment?" Jisoo asked sharply. Vesnar's skin flushed a deeper blue. "A precaution only. Species from Deathworlds often carry adaptations that can be problematic in more civilized environments." Do-hyun maintained his diplomatic smile despite the insult. "When does this summit begin?" "In 30 Earth days. It will be held at Concordia Station." Vesnar pulled out another device. "This contains details about acceptable delegation size, permitted equipment, and behavioral restrictions." Captain Taewon took the device, his expression hardening. "Behavioral restrictions?" "Standard protocols," Vesnar said. "Nothing your people cannot handle, I'm sure." The condescension in his voice was unmistakable. "We'll review everything carefully," Do-hyun said. "Please convey our thanks to the Council." Vesnar bowed slightly. "The Council expects your confirmation within 5 days. Good day, Ambassador." After the alien left, Do-hyun sat heavily in his chair. Well, that was enlightening. Did he just come here to insult us? Taewon asked, examining the information device for hidden dangers. Jisoo shook her head. He came to check on us, to see how the dangerous creatures from the impossible planet behave in person. Do-hyun nodded. The council still doesn't understand us. They think our survival on Earth was luck, not adaptation. Should we even go? Taewon asked. It sounds like we'll be treated like dangerous animals rather than equals. Do-hyun looked at the invitation still floating above his desk. We need to go precisely because of that attitude. This is our chance to show them what humans really are. 3 hours later, they sat in the embassy's secure conference room with the rest of the senior staff. The room was simple but functional, with a large table and screen showing Earth and the surrounding space. A Deathworld summit, said Delegate Sunmi, tapping her fingers on the table. About time they recognized our category. Do-hyun had just finished explaining the invitation to the team of 10 specialists who made up Earth's diplomatic corps on the station. Delegate Jun-ho, the engineering specialist, was studying the data from Vesnar's device. According to this, there will be representatives from 15 different species, all evolved on planets rated Class 3 to Class 7. No other Class 12? Asked Dr. Jisoo. None. We're the only ones, Jun-ho confirmed. That's because we're the only known sentient species to evolve on a Class 12 planet, Jisoo said. Most scientists believe it should be impossible. Why is Earth rated so dangerous? Asked Sunmi. It seems pleasant enough to me. Jisoo activated the main screen, showing Earth's classification data. By galactic standards, Earth is a nightmare. Extreme temperature variations, constant tectonic activity, powerful storms, dangerous radiation levels from our sun, high gravity, diverse and deadly microorganisms, large predators, poisonous plants and animals. The list goes on. Most garden worlds like Valoria have none of these, Do-hyun added. Their species evolved in stable, safe environments. Captain Taewon had been quiet, but now he spoke. They're afraid of us. This invitation isn't about respect. It's about keeping an eye on the dangerous newcomers. Do-hyun nodded. Probably. But it's also an opportunity. An opportunity for what? Sunmi asked. To change how they see us, Do-hyun replied. Right now they think we're either too primitive to be taken seriously or too dangerous to be trusted. We need to show them we're neither, Jisoo said. We're adaptable, innovative, and resilient. That's how we survived Earth. That's how we'll survive the galaxy. Do-hyun stood up. I'm selecting a delegation of 5. Myself, Dr. Jisoo, Captain Taewon, Delegate Sunmi for cultural expertise, and Delegate Jun-ho for technical support. What's our approach? Taewon asked. Professional but cautious, Do-hyun said. We observe everything. We learn. We make allies if possible. And if things go wrong? Sunmi asked. Do-hyun smiled slightly. Then we adapt. That's what humans do best. As the meeting ended, Dr. Jisoo stayed behind with Do-hyun. When the others had left, she pulled up new data on the screen. There's something else you should see, she said. I've been analyzing the patterns of recent council decisions. This summit isn't just about Deathworld species getting together for a chat. What do you mean? Do-hyun asked. Look at these resource allocation charts. The council has been quietly restricting access to key colonization zones for Deathworld species. And these new containment protocols they've been developing, she pointed to complex diagrams. These aren't just health measures, they're control mechanisms. Do-hyun studied the information with growing concern. You think the summit has a hidden purpose? Jisoo nodded. I think the council is worried about Deathworld species becoming too powerful, too quickly, especially humans. Because we adapt faster than anyone expected, Do-hyun said. Exactly. 8 years in the galactic community, and we've already established colonies on 3 new worlds. Worlds that other species found too hostile. Do-hyun looked out the window at the blue Earth below. So they invited us to this summit to assess the threat, Jisoo finished for him, and possibly to impose new restrictions. Do-hyun's expression hardened. Then we definitely need to attend, not just to change how they see us, but to protect our future. Jisoo smiled. I had a feeling you'd say that. I've already started preparing our research materials. Good, Do-hyun said. Because if the council thinks humans are just going to accept being controlled, they've made a very big mistake. Space Station Concordia hung in the darkness like a giant metal snowflake. Its 6 massive arms extended from a central hub, each arm housing different environments for different species. The human transport ship approached slowly, its engines quiet. Inside the ship, Ambassador Do-hyun looked out the viewport at the massive station. It's bigger than I expected. Built to accommodate many different environmental needs, Dr. Jisoo said, checking her data pad. Each section has its own gravity, atmosphere, and temperature settings. Captain Taewon was busy checking his security team's equipment one last time. Remember, we're not just diplomats here. We're representing Earth to species who may see us as either weak or dangerous. Be alert. The ship docked with a gentle thud. Delegates Sunmi and Junho joined the others at the airlock. They all wore simple but formal blue uniforms with the Earth emblem, a blue and green circle on their shoulders. Ready? Do-hyun asked, looking at each of them. As ready as we'll ever be, Sunmi replied. The airlock door slid open. A group of aliens waited on the other side. Do-hyun recognized most of the species from briefings, but seeing them in person was different. Most were bigger than humans with various evolutionary adaptations. Armored skin, extra limbs, enhanced sensory organs. A tall, insect-like being stepped forward. Its exoskeleton gleamed like polished metal, and its 4 arms ended in clawed hands. Ambassador Do-hyun of Earth, I am Krator, representative of Tarsus 4, a Class 7 Deathworld. I have been asked to welcome you to Concordia. Do-hyun bowed slightly. Thank you for the welcome, Representative Krator. These are my colleagues. He introduced each member of the human delegation. Krator's mandibles clicked. You are smaller than I expected. The comment wasn't meant as an insult, just an observation. Humans come in different sizes, Captain Taewon said. Some are bigger. Not that it would matter to a Class 12 species, said another alien, stepping forward. This one was short but broad, with thick gray skin that looked like rock. I am Alec of Granor, a Class 5 world. I have studied your planet with great interest. We're happy to answer any questions, Dr. Jisoo said. Alec's eyes widened with excitement. Is it true that your world has regular earthquakes that can destroy entire cities? And storms that can flatten buildings? And yet you built your civilization anyway? Before Jisoo could answer, Krator interrupted. The welcoming reception is beginning. The council representatives await us in the central hall. They walked through wide corridors designed to accommodate species of many sizes. Other delegations joined them, each different from the next. Some moved on many legs, others floated slightly above the ground. Some were covered in scales or fur or crystal-like growths. Sunmi leaned close to Do-hyun. Everyone's looking at us, she whispered. We're the newcomers, he replied, and the only Class 12 representatives. The central hall was enormous, with a high ceiling and walls made of some transparent material that showed the stars outside. Different food and drink stations were arranged around the room, each suited to different biological needs. A group of council representatives stood on a raised platform. Do-hyun recognized Vesnar among them. The blue-skinned alien raised his hands for silence. Honored delegates from the classified Deathworlds, Vesnar announced. Welcome to the first Deathworld Summit. You have been brought together to discuss mutual concerns and opportunities. The Council hopes this gathering will promote understanding between your species. The formal speeches continued for some time. The human delegation listened politely, but Do-hyun noticed many of the other species growing restless. Deathworld. Species, it seemed, weren't fond of long ceremonies. After the speeches, the delegates were free to mingle. Do-hyun watched as his team spread out according to plan. Jisoo approached a group of scientists. Taewon observed security arrangements. Sunmi engaged with cultural representatives, and Junho examined the station's engineering features. Krador approached Do-hyun again. Your world is truly Class 12? Many believe this is an exaggeration. It's not, Do-hyun said simply. Earth is beautiful but dangerous. Yet you have no natural armor, Krador said, tapping his hard exoskeleton. No venom. He extended a claw that glistened with poison. No special strength. His forearms flexed. We adapted in different ways, Do-hyun explained. Through technology? Krador asked. Partly, but mostly through cooperation, adaptability, and endurance. Krador's head tilted. Endurance? Humans can keep going when others would stop, Do-hyun said. We can recover from injuries that would kill others. We can survive, in many environments without special equipment. Interesting claims, Krador said. Perhaps there will be a chance to demonstrate these abilities. That chance came sooner than expected. Later that day, the delegates gathered in a large training area. What began as a simple demonstration of different species' combat techniques turned into an impromptu competition. Representatives from various worlds showed their natural abilities. A delegate from a high-gravity world lifted amazing weights. Another showed incredible speed. Krador demonstrated fighting techniques using his forearms and armored body. Perhaps our human friends would like to demonstrate their special abilities, Krador suggested, his voice carrying a slight challenge. Captain Taewon stepped forward. I'd be happy to. A course was set up with obstacles and targets. Other species had used their natural advantages, jumping high with powerful legs, climbing, with claws smashing through barriers with strength. Taewon had none of these advantages, but he ran the course with steady determination. When he came to a wall too high to climb, he found handholds others had missed. When faced with a heavy object to move, he used leverage instead of strength. When targets appeared, his aim was perfect. He finished the course covered in sweat but successful. The other delegates watched with new interest. Not impressive by itself, said a tall reptilian delegate. But considering the lack of natural advantages, that's how we survived. Earth, Taewon said, catching his breath. We don't give up. Later, during a meal break, Elec found Dr. Jisoo. Your captain showed impressive skills for a species without natural weapons, the rock-skinned alien said. Humans had to develop different kinds of strength, Jisoo explained. We're not the strongest or fastest, but we keep going when others would stop. Is it true your people can run prey to death? Elec asked eagerly. Jisoo smiled. Some traditional hunters could, yes. They would chase an animal until it collapsed from exhaustion, even if it took hours or days. Fascinating. Elec's eyes shone with genuine interest. Other delegates may dismiss humans because you lack obvious adaptations, but I think there's more to your species than meets the eye. Meanwhile, Delegate Junho had discovered something concerning. He pulled Do-hyun aside. In a quiet corner, the schedule of events for the summit, Junho said quietly. Most of the sessions are about resource allocation and colonization restrictions. Just as Jisoo predicted, Do-hyun said, there's more. I overheard some council staff talking. They're planning to introduce new regulations specifically targeting Class 8 and higher Deathworld species. That's only us and 2 others, Do-hyun realized. What kind of regulations? Restrictions on how many colony worlds we can settle, requirements for special permits to travel in certain sectors, mandatory safety officers on human ships. Do-hyun frowned. They want to control us. They fear us, Junho corrected. Dr. Jisoo was right. This summit isn't about cooperation, it's about containment. That evening, the human delegation gathered in their assigned quarters to compare notes. The room was simple but comfortable, with Earth-standard gravity and atmosphere. We need to build alliances, Do-hyun said. Find other species who might oppose these new regulations. Elec seems genuinely interested in humans, Jisoo suggested. His species might be sympathetic. Sunmi nodded. I spoke with representatives from 3 other mid-level Deathworlds. They're not happy with the council either. They feel their expansion has been unfairly limited. What about Krador? Taewon asked. He seemed to be testing us. He was, Do-hyun. Agreed. But he strikes me as practical. If he sees an advantage in working with humans, he might. A chime sounded, indicating the first day's activities were complete. The station's lights dimmed slightly to simulate evening. Tomorrow the real talks begin, Do-hyun said. Everyone remember our goal. Show them that humans aren't just survivors of a death world. We're a species worth respecting and worth having as allies. And if they still want to control us? Taewon asked. Do-hyun's expression turned serious. Then they'll learn why inviting humans to this summit was their big mistake. The second day of the summit began with formal meetings. Ambassador Do-hyun sat at a large round table with representatives from all 15 Deathworld species. Council members sat on raised seats above them, looking down as if judging a contest. The council calls this meeting to order, announced Vesnar. Today we will discuss resource allocation for colony worlds. Do-hyun noticed how the room was arranged. The most dangerous species, humans included, were seated farthest from the council members. A subtle insult, but clear. The meeting quickly became tense. A council member displayed a map of available colony planets in the galaxy. Red markers showed worlds now off-limits to Deathworld species. For safety reasons, the council member explained, these systems are restricted to species from Class 6 worlds and below. That eliminates almost all suitable colonies for my people, growled Krator, his mandibles clicking in anger, and completely blocks humans from expanding, Do-hyun added calmly. Earth is Class 12. By this rule, we can only colonize worlds nearly as dangerous as our home. Vesnar's face showed no emotion. The council must consider the safety of all galactic citizens. Deathworld species carry risks. What risks? Asked Dr. Jisoo, who sat beside Do-hyun. Has there been a single incident involving human colonists? It is preventative, Vesnar replied. Your kind evolved in conditions that required aggressive adaptations. Do-hyun was about to respond when the lights in the room flickered. Then, they went out completely. Red emergency lights came on seconds later. A computerized voice spoke over the station's speakers. Alert! Station power systems compromised. Initiating emergency protocols. The council members looked confused. This wasn't planned. Captain Taewon touched the communicator in his ear. Security breach in Sector 4, he whispered to Do-hyun. Unknown hostiles have boarded the station. Before anyone could react, a loud explosion shook the entire room. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Council members screamed. Chaos erupted as everyone tried to escape. Everyone stay calm, Do-hyun shouted over the noise. We need to evacuate in order. But panic had already taken hold. Council members rushed for the exits, pushing past each other. Even some Deathworld representatives were frozen in confusion. Another explosion hit, closer this time. The main door to the chamber was blocked by fallen debris. We're trapped, said a council member, his voice shaking with fear. Do-hyun looked at Taewon. The security captain nodded and immediately moved to the blocked doorway, examining the debris. Krator, Do-hyun called to the insectoid delegate. Your strength could help us clear this exit. The four-armed alien hesitated only briefly, before joining Taewon. Together they began moving the heavy rubble. Dr. Jisoo had activated her datapad. Life support systems are failing in multiple sectors, she reported. Temperature controls offline. Oxygen levels dropping in sectors 2 and 3. Who's attacking us? Asked Ilek, the friendly delegate from the Class 5 world. Unknown, Jisoo replied. No identification signal. More explosions rumbled through the station. The floor shook beneath them. A council member, older than Vesnar, with elaborate robes, approached Do-hyun. I am Counselor Vex, he said, his voice trembling slightly. Our security forces were not prepared for this. They're overwhelmed. We need to reach the central command hub, Do-hyun said. From there we can coordinate a response. Impossible, Vex replied. It's 3 sectors away. We'd never make it. Do-hyun looked around the room. The humans remained calm while most council members were panicking. Some Deathworld species showed composure, particularly those from the more dangerous worlds. We have two options, Do-hyun announced loudly, gaining everyone's attention. Wait here for rescue or take action. I suggest we take action. What do you propose? Asked Krator, pausing from his work on the blocked exit. Form teams. Security. Team to establish safe routes. Engineering team to restore critical systems. Medical team to help the injured. And who would lead these teams? Vesnar asked skeptically. Those best suited for the tasks, Do-hyun replied. Deathworld species are used to crisis situations. Surprisingly, it was Krator who supported him first. The human is right. This is what our worlds prepared us for. With Krator's backing, other Deathworld delegates quickly agreed. Teams formed naturally based on skills and abilities. Taiwan would lead security with Krator and two other heavily armored species. Junho would lead engineering efforts with Elec, whose species had natural resistance to heat and radiation. We've cleared enough space to get through, Taiwan reported, pointing to the partially cleared doorway. Good, Do-hyun said. Security team goes first, then civilians with rear security behind. As they prepared to move out, one of the council assistants approached, carrying a communication device. There's a message coming through, she said. From the attackers. The device projected a holographic image. The being that appeared was unlike any species Do-hyun had seen before. Its body seemed to shift between solid and liquid states, with no clear features except glowing red sensor. Organs. We are the Raxes, the being announced in a strange, echoing voice. Your biological contamination ends now. Deathworld species will be eliminated for the safety of the galaxy. The message ended. Everyone looked at each other in shock. The Raxes? Jisoo whispered to Do-hyun. There's nothing about them in any database I've studied. Counselor Vex looked pale. They are a myth, a story to frighten children, a species that believes all biological life is a corruption. Well, they seem very real now, Do-hyun said grimly, and they're here to kill us all. They moved out into the corridor. The station's damage was worse than they had feared. Panels hung from the ceiling. Fires burned in some sections. The air smelled of smoke and chemicals. Taewon led the way, moving with careful precision. The human security officer had transformed from a formal diplomat to a combat veteran in seconds. Life support control room is this way, Junho said, checking a station map on his datapad. If we can reach it, we might restore oxygen to the affected sectors. As they moved through the damaged station, they encountered other survivors. Station crew and delegates who had been in different areas when the attack began. Do-hyun organized them quickly, assigning them to teams or evacuation groups. One young station technician joined them, a woman named Kyung-min who worked in communications. The attackers targeted our systems with precise strikes, she told Do-hyun, as they hurried down a corridor. They knew exactly where to hit us. How would they know that? Do-hyun asked. Someone gave them inside information, Kyung-min replied. I found evidence of data transmission to an unknown receiver just before the attack. Sabotage, Do-hyun realized. But who? They had to put that question aside when they reached a junction and found their path blocked by collapsed beams. The air was growing thin in this section. We need to find another route, Taewon said, checking the map. No time, Jisoo replied, checking her instruments. Oxygen levels are critical in Sector 3. There are over 50 delegates trapped there. Krator examined the collapsed section. Even with my strength, this would take too long to clear. We go over, Do-hyun decided, pointing to a maintenance shaft above the debris. Taewon, can you reach that? The security captain studied the narrow opening. Yes, but it's barely wide enough for a human. Krator and the others won't fit. Then, humans go first, Do-hyun said. We're smaller and more flexible. We'll secure the other side, then find a way to clear this path from there. Krator's mandibles clicked. You would go into unknown territory without protection? That's what humans do, Do-hyun replied simply. Taewon went first, pulling himself up into the narrow shaft. Jisoo followed, then Do-hyun. The passage was dark, hot and filled with smoke, but they kept moving. When they emerged on the other side, they found themselves in a section where gravity controls were malfunctioning. Objects floated randomly in the air. The humans adapted quickly, using the wall handles to pull themselves along. Life support control is just ahead, Jisoo said, checking her datapad. They reached the control room and found it abandoned. Warning, lights flashed across all consoles. Jisoo and Do-hyun immediately went to work on the systems while Taewon secured the door. The main oxygen system is offline, Jisoo reported. Backup systems failing. Can we reroute? Do-hyun asked. Jisoo's fingers flew over the controls. Yes, but only if we redirect power from another system. What system can we sacrifice? Jisoo looked grim. The only one with enough power is station defense. If we turn off defenses, more attackers could board, Taewon warned. If we don't restore oxygen, people die in minutes, Jisoo countered. Do-hyun made the decision instantly. Redirect the power. We'll deal with the attackers ourselves. As Jisoo worked, the station shook with another explosion. Through the control room window, they saw a new ship dock with the station. More attackers were coming. Get that oxygen system online, Do-hyun told Jisoo. Taewon and I will find a way to clear the path for the others. We'll need everyone if we're going to survive this. Be careful, Jisoo said, still working furiously at the controls. Careful isn't going to save us now, Do-hyun replied. But being human might. The corridor outside the life support control room was filled with smoke. Do-hyun and Taewon moved carefully, using the walls for support as the gravity fluctuated around them. We need to find something to clear that blocked passage, Do-hyun said. The others can't wait much longer. They found a maintenance bay 2 doors down. Inside were tools and equipment for station repairs. Taewon quickly identified a portable cutting tool. This should work on those metal beams, he said, checking its power levels. But it will take time. Time we don't have, Do-hyun replied. We need help. A noise from the doorway made them both turn. A figure stood there, tall and shadowy in the emergency lighting. It was Krator. Somehow the insectoid alien had found another way around the blockage. Humans, Krator said, stepping into the room. Your people move quickly. How did you get here? Taewon asked. Krator's mandibles clicked. I forced my way through a ventilation shaft. Lost some exoskeleton in the process. He showed them a scraped area on his arm where the hard covering was damaged. You didn't wait for an easier path? Do-hyun asked. Your people took action, Krator replied simply. I decided to do the same. Do-hyun nodded with new respect. We found a cutting tool. With your strength and Taewon's precision, we can clear that blockage faster. Then let us work, Krator said. Together, they returned to the blocked passage. Krator used his forearms to stabilize the debris while Taewon operated the cutting tool with expert precision. Do-hyun coordinated their efforts and kept watch for any signs of the attackers. While they worked, Do-hyun's communicator activated. It was Dr. Jisoo. Oxygen restored to sectors 2 and 3, she reported. But I found something concerning in the system logs. These attacks, they're following a very specific pattern. What kind of pattern? Do-hyun asked. They're targeting systems that would specifically affect Deathworld delegates. The attack sectors are exactly where most delegates were housed. So the Raxas really are targeting us specifically, Do-hyun said. Yes, but there's more, Jisoo continued. Some system overrides were activated using council authorization codes, high-level ones. Do-hyun processed this information quickly. You're saying someone in the council is working with the attackers? The evidence suggests it, Jisoo replied. I'm trying to trace which specific code was used. The implications were enormous. If the council, or someone within it, had helped orchestrate this attack, then the entire summit might have been a trap from the beginning. With a final cut, the blocked passage was cleared enough for people to pass through. Almost immediately, more delegates and council members began arriving from the other side, led by Delegate Sunmi. Ambassador, Sunmi said with relief. We found more survivors along the way. Among the newcomers was another Deathworlder Do-hyun, hadn't met before. A pale, almost translucent being with visible organs beneath its skin. It approached Do-hyun directly. "I am Maison of Hydros," it said in a melodic voice. "A Class 6 death world of endless oceans and crushing pressures." "Do-hyun of Earth?" he replied with a small bow. "Your people have surprised me," Maison said. When the attack began, many froze or panicked, but humans acted. "Why?" "Adaptation," Do-hyun explained. "On Earth, disasters happen regularly. We've learned to respond quickly. My people heal quickly," Maison said, showing a wound on its arm that was visibly closing. "But yours think quickly. Both are valuable." Their conversation was interrupted when Counselor Vex approached, looking shaken but composed. "Ambassador, we've received communications from other parts of the station," Vex said. "The attackers have taken control of the main command center. They're venting atmospheres in some sections deliberately. We need to retake the command center," Do-hyun said firmly. "Impossible," Vex replied. "Our security forces are scattered or dead. We should focus on reaching the escape pods." "If we leave, they win," Do-hyun countered. "And they might destroy our ships anyway. Our best chance is to regain control of the station." Counselor Vex looked uncertain. "How would you propose doing that with so few security personnel?" "We don't need security personnel," Do-hyun said. "We have Deathworlders." Do-hyun called together representatives from each Deathworld species present. They gathered in what had been a meeting room, now serving as an impromptu command center. Taiwan had set up a holographic display showing the station layout. "The attackers control the main command hub here," Taiwan explained, pointing to a section of the station. "They've sealed all approaches and posted guards at these points. Frontal assault would be suicide," Krator observed. "Agreed," Do-hyun said. "So we don't go in the front." He looked at the diverse group around him. Each species had evolved unique adaptations to survive their harsh homeworlds. Together, they represented an incredible array of capabilities. "Every species here evolved special traits to survive," Do-hyun said. "If we combine those abilities, we can reach the command center." "Cooperation between so many different species?" one delegate asked skeptically. "We barely understand each other." "We don't need to understand each other completely," Do-hyun replied. "We just need to recognize what each of us does best." Slowly, a plan took shape. Maison's people could move through water systems due to their amphibious nature. Krator's strength and natural armor made him ideal for direct confrontation. Another species could withstand extreme temperatures. Each had something valuable to contribute. "The real question," Taiwan said, "is who betrayed us?" Jisoo found evidence that council access codes were used to help the attackers. The room went quiet. Finally, Alex spoke up. "I saw Counselor Thek speaking privately with someone just before the attack. They were using a communication device I didn't recognize." "Thex?" Vex said in surprise. "He leads the Committee on Species Integration." "Or segregation," Jisoo added. "I've reviewed his voting record. He's consistently supported restrictions on Deathworld species." Do-hyun considered this information. "If Thex is working with the Raxus, he might still be helping them. We need to move quickly." As they finalized their plan, more survivors arrived, including a human security officer named Jin Woo, who had been stationed elsewhere on Concordia. "Attackers are methodical," Jin Woo reported. "They move in groups of 3 with energy weapons and some kind of gaseous weapon that seems designed to target respiratory systems. Gas would affect most biological species," Jisoo noted. "But not equally," Jin Woo added. "I saw it hit a group with mixed species. The council members died almost instantly. The Deathworlders suffered but survived." "Further evidence this attack specifically targets us," Do-hyun said. "But why would Counselor Thex help aliens who want to kill council members too?" "Maybe he doesn't know their true plan," Taiwan suggested. "Or maybe only certain council members are targeted." They had no time to speculate further. Sensors showed the attackers spreading through more sections of the station. They needed to act now. The assault team assembled quickly. Krator and 3 other heavily armored species would create a diversion at one entrance to the command center. Maison and 2 other adaptable species would infiltrate through maintenance tunnels. Do-hyun, Tae-won, and Jin-woo would lead a team. Through the ventilation system, a tight fit for most species but manageable for humans. Before they departed, Krator approached Do-hyun. "You have no natural armor," the insectoid said. "No poison, no claws. Yet you lead us into battle. Why?" "Because sometimes the most important adaptation isn't physical," Do-hyun replied. "It's the ability to bring different strengths together." Krator's mandibles clicked in what Do-hyun now recognized as a gesture of respect. "On my world we have a saying, the strongest shell cannot save you from all dangers. Perhaps humans have shown us a different kind of strength." The teams moved out according to the plan. Do-hyun's group crawled through narrow ventilation ducts, navigating by the station schematics Jisoo had downloaded to their data pads. The air was thin and hot, but they pressed on. "Movement ahead," Tae-won whispered, signaling for them to stop. Through a grate, they could see into the command center. 6 of the Raxus moved around the room, their fluid-like bodies shimmering under the lights. And standing among them, unharmed and clearly cooperating, was Counselor Thex. "All species from Class 8 worlds and above will be eliminated," Thex was saying. "The Council will declare it a tragic accident. The remaining Deathworlders will accept the new restrictions out of fear." "And the Council members who disagree?" one of the Raxus asked in its strange, echoing voice. "Unfortunate casualties," Thex replied coldly. "The survivors will be easier to control." Do-hyun had heard enough. He signaled to the others. It was time to execute their plan. Across the station, Krator's team began their diversion, setting off emergency systems to draw attention. At the same moment, Mazan's infiltration team disabled power to specific sections of the command center. As confusion erupted among the Raxus, Do-hyun's team removed the ventilation grate and dropped into the command center. Tae-won moved with lightning speed, disabling the nearest attackers before they could react. "Impossible," Thex shouted when he saw humans inside the supposedly secure room. "How did you get in here?" "Humans are good at surviving the impossible," Do-hyun replied calmly. "That's why you fear us so much." The battle for the command center had begun. And for the first time since the attack started, Do-hyun allowed himself to feel hope. The battle for the command center was fierce but quick. The Raxus fighters were strong, but they had not expected an attack from inside their secure position. They certainly hadn't expected the coordinated effort of so many different Deathworld species working together. Tae-won moved with practiced efficiency, disabling control panels that the Raxus were using to vent atmospheres in other parts of the station. Jin-woo secured the main doors, preventing reinforcements from arriving. Krator burst through a side entrance with his team, his 4 arms wielding both his natural weapons and tools he had picked up. The insectoid warrior engaged 2 Raxus directly, his armored exoskeleton deflecting their energy weapons. Counselor Thex tried to escape during the chaos, but Do-hyun was ready. He had positioned himself near the only other exit. "It's over, Counselor," Do-hyun said calmly. "You don't understand what you're doing," Thex hissed. "Deathworlders cannot be allowed to spread throughout the galaxy. You're too dangerous." "The only danger I see," Do-hyun replied, "is from people who would murder innocent delegates to support their prejudice." Mazan's team arrived through the maintenance tunnels, cutting off Thex's last escape route. The counselor looked around, frantically, then pulled out a small device. "Stay back," he shouted. "This will release a toxin deadly to all oxygen breathers." Everyone hesitated, except Dr. Jisoo, who had just entered the command center. She threw a small metal tool with surprising accuracy, knocking the device from Thex's hand. It skidded across the floor. "Nice throw," Do-hyun said with raised eyebrows. "Softball champion in college," Jisoo replied with a small smile. "Some human hobbies have practical applications." With Thex captured and the remaining Raxus fighters subdued, they regained control of the station's systems. Jisoo and Jun-ho worked quickly to restore life support, communications, and defense systems. "We need to warn the other sections of the station," Do-hyun said. "There might be more Raxus fighters out there." They used the command center's communication system to contact all parts of the station. Survivors reported in from various locations. Some sections had been completely overtaken by the attackers, but others had held out. Ambassador, Jisoo called from a console. I'm detecting multiple ships approaching the station. They're not Raxus vessels. Reinforcements? Taewon asked hopefully. The answer came moments later when the communication system activated. A stern human face appeared on the main screen. This is Admiral Young of the Earth Defense Force, the woman announced. We received your distress signal. Concordia Station, what is your status? Do-hyun stepped forward. Admiral, this is Ambassador Do-hyun. The station was attacked by a species called the Raxus with help from within the Council. We've retaken the command center, but fighting continues in other sections. The Admiral nodded sharply. Understood. We have 3 warships approaching, with security teams ready to assist. Hold your position. Earth-sent warships? Counselor Vex asked, looking surprised. How did they respond so quickly? We always have ships patrolling near important diplomatic locations, Admiral Young explained before signing off. Earth takes the safety of its people seriously. With help on the way, they organized the command center into a temporary headquarters. The various Deathworld delegates worked alongside the remaining council staff to coordinate rescue efforts throughout the station. Hours later, the station was secure. The Earth security teams, along with forces from 2 other Deathworld planets that had responded to the distress call, had methodically cleared every section. Most of the Raxus fighters had been captured. A few had escaped in small ships, but Admiral Young had sent vessels to track them. In a large meeting room that had survived the attack, the delegates gathered once more. But the seating arrangement was very different now. Council members no longer sat above the others. Everyone was at the same level, with Do-hyun and representatives from each Deathworld species at the center. An elderly council member approached the main table. Unlike Vesnar or Thex, she had a kind face and moved with dignity despite her injuries from the attack. I am Grand Counselor Zell, she announced. As the highest surviving authority of the Galactic Council, I wish to formally thank the Deathworld, delegates particularly the humans, for their actions today. Do-hyun stood and bowed respectfully. We all did what was necessary, Grand Counselor. Yes, she agreed. But some were more prepared for crisis than others. This attack has revealed much about our assumptions and prejudices. She turned to address the entire room. For too long, the Council has viewed Deathworld species with fear and suspicion. We imposed restrictions based not on actions but on origins. Today has shown us the error in that thinking. Murmurs of agreement spread through the room, particularly among the Deathworld delegates. What about Counselor Thex? Asked Crater. And others who may share his views? Thex will face justice, Zell assured them, and we will investigate thoroughly to find any others involved in this plot. But more importantly, we must re-examine our policies. Do-hyun saw an opportunity. He stood again and addressed the gathering. Grand Counselor, this crisis has shown that Deathworld species share common challenges and complementary strengths. I propose a permanent alliance between our worlds, not in opposition to the Council, but as a unified voice within it. An alliance of Deathworlders? Vesnar said, sounding concerned. That could shift the balance of power significantly. Balance has already shifted, Zell replied wisely. We can either adapt to this new reality or resist it, and today has shown the folly of resistance. Do-hyun continued. This alliance would not seek special treatment, only equal treatment. No more restrictions based solely on a species' planet of origin. Judge us by our actions, not our adaptations. Zell considered this, then nodded slowly. I will support this proposal in the full council. The events here will make a compelling argument. A young human diplomat named Min-ho, who had been documenting everything for Earth's records, stood up. What shall we call this new alliance? Was Krator who answered. The Deathworld Accord, the insectoid said firmly. A reminder of what brought us together. The name was accepted with nods of approval. Over the next few hours, representatives from all 15 Deathworld species worked together to draft the founding principles of the Accord. Humans, with their diplomatic experience, helped mediate between species with historical differences. By the time Admiral Young's teams had fully secured the station, the document was ready. In a formal ceremony, each species signed the Deathworld Accord, establishing mutual defense, open trade, and cultural exchange between all signatory worlds. As the signing concluded, Jisoo approached Do-hyun with her datapad. "You should see this," she said quietly. He looked at the screen and saw their new classification in the galactic database. Where humans had once been listed as Class 12 Deathworld species, primitive, limited diplomacy rights, they were now categorized as Class 12 Deathworld species, essential allies, full diplomatic standing. "That didn't take long," Do-hyun said with satisfaction. "Nothing changes minds like saving lives," Jisoo replied. Later, as the human delegation prepared to transfer to Admiral Young's ship for the journey home, they received a stream of visitors. Representatives from various species came to express gratitude and, more surprisingly, to make requests. "My government wishes to establish a permanent exchange program with Earth," said Elek excitedly. "We want to learn from your adaptability. My people would benefit from your military training methods," Krator said, his mandibles clicking in what they now recognized as respect. Even some council species came with requests for human assistance with ongoing crises in their sectors. The galaxy, it seemed, had suddenly discovered the value of Deathworld experience. The final visitor was Vesnar, the blue-skinned council representative who had delivered the original invitation with such condescension. He approached Do-hyun with a formal bow much deeper than his previous ones. "Ambassador," Vesnar said, his voice lacking its former arrogance, "I have been instructed to formally apologize for the Council's previous treatment of human delegates." "Apology accepted," Do-hyun replied simply. "There is more," Vesnar continued. "The Council requests human advisors for 3 ongoing crisis situations in the galaxy. Your perspective would be valuable." Do-hyun couldn't help but smile at the sheer irony. "We would be happy to help. That's what allies do." As the human delegation boarded Admiral Young's ship, Do-hyun looked back at the space station. What had begun as an attempt to control and marginalize Deathworld species had transformed into something entirely different. The ship's viewing lounge offered a panoramic view of Concordia Station as they departed. Around the table sat the human team: Taewon, Jisoo, Sunmi, Junho, and several others who had proven themselves during the crisis. "When we received that invitation," Do-hyun said, "I never imagined it would end like this." "They made a classic mistake," Jisoo observed. "They underestimated what Deathworld species, especially humans, do best." "Which is?" Sunmi asked. "Adapt, overcome, and turn disadvantages into strengths," Jisoo replied. Admiral Yang joined them, looking at the station growing smaller in the distance. "The Deathworld Accord," she said thoughtfully. "It will change the balance of power in the galaxy. For the better, I hope," Do-hyun said. "One thing is certain, the Admiral R.